Spreadsheet Scholars, this video has less polish than we normally do because I wanted to make sure that we got our week 5 exercises solution out as quickly as possible. So I'm going to assume that you can pull up your week 5 exercises and go through these pieces point by point, and I am going to go through them as well, and I'll describe what I'm doing as I solve this. And if you ran into any problems, you can compare it against the way that I set up the solution, and hopefully you'll be all prepped for our next exam. So I'm going to launch Excel, create a blank worksheet, zoom into 200%, and I'll save this as requested in the exercise. And I'm going to head back to the Google Doc that's got our exercise. And by the way, somebody had asked me during office hours, how is it that I'm quickly jumping between one application and another application? And on the Mac, what you do is you hold down the Command key and press Tab. That will show you all the open applications, and each time you hit Tab, you'll go to the next application in the list. Windows has the same kind of feature, but instead of Command Tab, it's Control Tab. So I've headed back into my browser, and in the exercise it says visit this URL. This is where we're going to find Amazon.com financial data, so I'm going to highlight and copy this URL. Then I'll open a new browser tab, I'll paste it in, and I get this Market Watch page. Then I ask you to copy all of the values in this statement from the first row that's labeled fiscal year is January through December, all values in US dollars, all the way through the end with the last column in the last row for free cash flow. So I just click right at the start of the first row that I want, hold down the mouse, drag to the very last cell in the very last column, that's free cash flow. Then I'll copy that with a Command C, head back to Excel. Now I could do a straight paste into Excel. Now that's Command V on the Mac, Control V on Windows, but this brings in all of the formatting from the web page. That's not what I want, so I'll undo. And remember, you have different options under the pull down next to paste, so I can also select Paste Special and select text. This is looking pretty good, but just to show you that you've got another option, in case this option doesn't work out for you, I'm just going to Command Z to undo. That's Control Z in Windows. And this third option I'm going to check is Match Destination Formatting. Now that removes any formatting that would otherwise carry over from the web page, and it's going to paste it in and use any of the default formatting that's on this Excel worksheet. So if you're not getting the results that you expect when you paste in, remember you've got 3 different options. Straight up paste, you could do a paste special with text, or you could do the paste with Match Destination Formatting. Match Destination Formatting looks good here, so I'm going to keep that. I'm going to expand my first column so that I can see everything that's in that column. That's by double-clicking on the line between A and B. That auto-fits the column. And I also mention in part B of this question that if the data includes, after you paste it in, a column G that reads 5-year trend, you should go ahead and delete that column. So since I've got that, I'm just going to right-click on top of the G, and I'm going to select Delete. Next, I ask you to change cell A1 from fiscal years January-December, all values in USD millions, to read just year. Then remove all of the rows except the rows labeled year, that's the one that we just changed, net operating cash flow, capital expenditures, and free cash flow. So again, to delete rows, you can just click and drag on the numbers, then right-click and select delete. That'll delete any rows that we've highlighted. It's the same procedure you use for columns. I'm going to auto-fit the column widths here, although I didn't ask you to do that, and I'm going to have to do this again anyway when I flip the data. Next, highlight the data, copy it, and paste it directly below the current data using Paste Special to flip the columns and the rows, but do not include the copied data's formatting. So the resulting pasted data should appear as plain text, no formatting. To get to Paste Special, what I've done is just right-clicked to bring up the context-sensitive menu. I'm going to select Paste Special and then Paste Special again. This brings up the Paste Special dialog box where you can select any of the things you want to happen or you don't want to happen when you paste data. Now, under Paste, I'm going to select values because I just want to paste in the values, and then down here in the lower right hand corner I'm going to click on transpose. Remember, transpose is the option when you want to flip things so that the columns become rows and the rows become columns. Click OK, and that's exactly what we get. Then you should delete the old data so that only the flipped data is showing, with column A, year, showing the 4 year-end dates, and column B, C, and D showing net operating cash flow, capital expenditures, and free cash flow. Your 5 rows beneath the headers should start with the years 2015 through 2019. Everything is looking good. So up next, you want to turn your data into an Excel table and format it in a table style, and I give you the style, and I even show you what that style should look like. So that's light green table style 21. One way to easily select this is in the home ribbon. You can go over to the format as table icon and actually pull down the little down arrow right next to that. That exposes a whole bunch of different table styles. You can just glance through to try to find the table style that you want. You can see if you hover your cursor over, you get a tooltip too. Here's our style, light green table style 21, and I'm going to click that. Excel shows me the format as table dialog box. It selects what should be the table. I've got my table has headers selected, so that's great. Click OK. And the table is formatted perfectly. I'm going to head back to the home ribbon and I'm going to auto-fit the column widths. Values for years show as 4 digits, so there's no problem here. Remember, you can go up and you can select date formats if you need to, but we don't need to here. Next, I give you the names of the 3 columns that have net operating cash flow through free cash flow. The only difference is you have in parentheses a capital B afterward to indicate that these values are in billions, so we'll make those changes. Then, more importantly, the values that we have in here, since they have the letter B after them, these actually aren't considered to be numbers. They're considered to be text. So if we want to use these as numeric values, we've got to delete the B. So that's what I'll do here. Now, all of the values in my capital expenditure column and column C here are negative. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting in the parentheses, I'm going to put a negative value in front of this, and I'll change the formatting so they all get red and they have parentheses around them in the end. And we'll remove the B's from this last column, and now I've got 3 columns of usable numbers. Now we want to format these as currency format in US dollars, so make sure it's currency and not accounting, and the negative value should be in parentheses and show in red. So I highlight my numbers from B2 down through D6. I can go to the pull down menu, I can select currency, then I can highlight my numbers again, and I can go down here under the more numbers formats, and I see under currency I got lots of other different options in here. Now this last one in the list shows that negative values have parentheses around them and they show in red, so I'm going to select that option. That's what I want, click OK, and everything looks good. Next up, you want to set the labels for the dollar valued columns so that they are word wrapped across 2 lines. So there's still a single row for each label, but you got 2 lines inside of the row. Resize these cells so they're roughly the minimum width possible to still display the full label across 2 lines. And the effect should be similar to how you used word wrap in the video lessons. So super easy to set up. We're just going to click and drag from B1 through D1, and on the Home tab, we're going to click on Wrap Text. Then I'm just going to move the column width forward and backwards until I get these column headers on 2 lines. Sometimes you have to fiddle with this by adjusting the columns back and forth, but this looks good. You want to change the values in the free cash flow column so that they're calculated as a formula of net operating cash flow plus capital expenditures, and you want to do plus because the values in column C are negative. So I'll put my first formula in D2 by starting that with equal. I'll click on B2, the plus, and then I'll just use my left arrow to cursor over, and that selects the value in C2. Press return, the formula looks good. I'll double click the fill handle, and that'll fill the formula down through D6, looking good. Next up, use the table's table row capability to add a table row to the bottom of the table, but we want to replace the label total with AVG for average, and then we want to use the total row functionality to calculate the average for each of the 3 columns. So click anywhere inside the table, head to the table ribbon, then click on total row, click total in A7 and replace that with AVG. Then I'm going to click in B7, C7, and D7, and I'm going to pull down in each of these cells and select average. Then here's me for a typo. Sorry about that. You were supposed to add a column named percent spent on CapEx. Copy and paste that value into E1. And you wanted to set this up so that it was 2 lines in a single cell. There we go. Then we'll calculate this column as a percentage of the net operating cash flow taken up by capital expenditures. So note that while CapEx is negative, the percentage should be a positive value, so modify your calculation accordingly. Basic grade school math, you know how you turn a negative value into a positive number is you just multiply it by -1. So in E1, I'll say equals, then I'll click in C2, then slash for divided by, then I'll click in B2, and then I'm going to go back up here again, and I'm going to multiply that by -1, looking good. Then I'll highlight all of the numbers in column E. I'll format these as percentages. I'll add a decimal point in here. Then in E7, I'm going to use the total row feature to get the average percent spent on CapEx as well. And that's everything for part 1. Hopefully you got it. If not, go back and review. And whoops, one thing I forgot to do was to name this first worksheet Amazon CapEx. You just double click on the worksheet down below and rename that. Then let's click on the plus to add a new worksheet, and we'll name this one Old v New. Then I'll zoom this up to 200% so it's easier to see. And in A1, I'll type in the label name, and then the firms down below will be Tesla, GM, Amazon, Walmart, Netflix, and Disney. So you want to make sure the firm names are spelled exactly as they're entered because that's going to be necessary to link them to Excel stock data. I'm going to highlight the firm names from A2 down to A7, click on the Data tab, click on Stocks, and look at that. All of these firms are connected to stock data. Now I want to convert this to a table, so what I could do is head back to the Home tab, and I could click on Format as Table, but since I want to use the basic table format, I'm going to click in cell A1. And I happen to know the shortcut key. I'm going to type Command T for Mac. You could do Control T for Windows. There's no problem in clicking on the Format as Table icon, but it's nice to know the shortcut. You can use whatever technique that you like, but we see the Create Table dialog box shows up. I see that it's selected the header in A1, and it's also automatically selected. My table has headers, so this looks great. Click on OK, and we've got ourselves a table. I'll autofit column A by double-clicking between the A and the B. So next up, we want to do everything needed to add a column named market cap. That's mkt.cap with B in parentheses, which should show each firm's market capitalization in billions of dollars. Now this value should be formatted in accounting format with 2 decimals showing to the right of the billions value. You can use any additional columns to help with calculation, but when done, the only columns it should be showing at this point are the name column and the market cap B column. Now you did almost the same exact thing in the video lesson. You learned that market cap was shares outstanding times share price, and you know that share price is listed as price according to the different values you can get from Excel's stocks feature. So we'll click in the lower right hand corner and we'll select shares outstanding, widen the column, then we'll add another column selecting price. And in D1 I'm going to put mkt.cap and in parentheses B, press return. My market cap calculation in D2 is going to be equal sign. Then I'll click on B2, I'll multiply that by C2, but then if I press return that's much too big. So I'm going to click back in D2 and I'm going to divide that by 1 billion. So that's /1, and remember a billion is 9 zeros, so that's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Press return, and indeed we're formatted in billions with 2 decimals to the right of the billions value. Excellent. Now remember, we shouldn't be showing any columns that are used as part of this calculation, so I'm just going to click on B, drag over to C, then right click and select hide. Again, same thing we did in our video lesson. So next up we're going to calculate value per employee, but we're going to need to have an employee column in there. So I'm going to click anywhere in the table. In the lower right hand corner I'm going to select employee, and the employees column shows up. Then in F1 I'm going to enter the header value /EMP period plus return. It's considered to be part of the table. Nicely formatted. Thank you, Excel. Then I'll perform my value per employee calculation in F2. So I'll start that with an equal sign. Then that's going to be market capitalization. That's in B2 / for divide. Then I'll click on E2, which is the number of employees. I press return. Gadzooks, my friends, this looks terrible. What's the problem? Oh yeah, our market capitalization is expressed in billions of dollars, but we want to put the exact dollar value in F. So since we took our market cap value and divided by 1 billion, in F2 what we want to do is take this calculation and multiply by 1 billion. So click back in F2 and add to the end of this formula *1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0, press return, and this looks spectacular. Now, one thing we notice when we adjust the columns is all of the new companies are worth significantly more per employee than their conventional counterparts. I'm going to remove the decimal points from the values in column F. I'm going to adjust the column width. We'll add one more column, that's the PE ratio. Now the PE ratio is the price-earnings ratio. It's the stock price over earnings per share, and you're going to learn a lot more about PE ratios in your investments class. But if we take a look at this, we can see that, again, the new firms that are more tech-focused are valued significantly more than their old-school counterparts. Historically, PEs are around 15, although it does vary significantly by industry. Tesla's in nosebleed territory. It's a very expensive stock. So is Amazon. So is Netflix. These stocks are really priced for perfection. How come Disney's got a 0? Because it's got no earnings. It's in the red. It's losing money. So you can highlight all of these columns. You can auto-fit the selection. Everything is looking good. Be careful, because if you auto-fit selection for columns that are hidden, they will show again. Let's make sure that we hide column B and column C. And that's the last part to this exercise. Hopefully you've got it. Again, review if you think you need some more help. I'm going to unhide these 2 columns just to show you a bit of a bonus in here. So the stock price information from Excel is updated as of the last time you access data. But, sometimes you'll open up a worksheet and you want to refresh the data. Well, the way that we can do that is by heading into the Data tab, exposing the Data ribbon, and then clicking on this button here that says Refresh All. Now that will normally get the latest stock price that's available in Excel services. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any update here because I'm trying to update the stock price after the markets have closed. But now you know how to make sure that your worksheet is refreshed. That's really the big advantage of being able to use the stocks feature in Excel, is you will get the latest data which is available, or I think for stock prices there's a 15-minute delay on that. There's a little bit of bonus information for you. But definitely make sure that you got this down for our test on Friday. And good luck, Spreadsheet Scholar. I hope you do well.